off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports radio station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So I'm also balancing out all the negative news out there. So if you're looking for a place to rant about what's going on that are in the headlines right now, this is not the place. I actually will not talk about anything that's on the headlines. My children are quite concerned because I don't watch the news. I haven't had a TV in about 10 years because I'll hear about what it is if it's something that really requires me to apply it to my life and I can control it. But most of the things that is presented to us are so fear-making and irritating making and activating our pissed offedness that I just don't want to start my day like that. So for those of you who are here, I know you're here. I see your eyeballs rolling in now or later. This is a place where I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time, talking about solutions. We do talk about problems and things that are not cool, that are unhappy making. Today is a great example. We're going to talk about Alzheimer's. However, my focus is always on solution. What can we learn? What can we grow into? What can we grow and expand? How can we help? How can we feel better about the reality that we are in? And that's why I've been here. 600, or no, how long have I been here? Here we go, 658 consecutive weeks. And I'm so grateful that those who said I'd only be here a year were wrong. So 12 and a half years later, I'm still ticking like the Energizer Bunny, and I'm still splattering more hope and happiness on you. And today is a very special day. It is Thursday, and normally it has been Straight Talk for many, many years. And don't worry, Straight Talk is still here. It's moved to Friday. And I still have James Hawthorne and Ricky Rebel on Friday. They're going to be swapping every other week as my co-host for Straight Talk. And it's still going to be a little on the racy side because we're heading into the weekend. And I pushed the edge of the envelope of the FCC rules. No, I'm just kidding. Don't worry, Fred and Mark. Or Joe. But we do kind of, we talk about pleasure, which is, it's unfortunate that has been seen as a dirty word or something to, keep in the dark, but it's not. It's part of life. And so don't worry, Fridays, we're still doing Straight Talk, and I'm excited to have James back in studio live tomorrow. And we are actually, that's the topic, is pleasure. But Thursdays, I woke up, or actually during meditation, thinking about the plethora. I mean, this is show number 1,287. That's a lot of shows. And I've had a lot of amazing guests who, it's not like I don't want to have them on again. I've had multiple guests come on multiple times, but the wisdom that I have in my show vault is so rich that I thought, Throwback Thursdays would be a really good time to bring back some interviews that you haven't heard, even when I didn't have cameras in my studio. And so that's what I decided to do, is make Thursdays Throwback Thursdays. And then in choosing the one that I wanted to give you today, it's funny. I had him on my mind. He's one of my top guests. I'm not going to say the number because I don't want any of my guests to think that they're not my favorite. They're all my favorite. But one in particular stands out because he helped me understand Alzheimer's in a way that I did never even imagine that I could understand. And his name came up again in my interview last week, I believe, with filmmaker Susie Singer Carter. And she's also interviewed him. And her mom died of I don't know if you die of Alzheimer's, but she passed and she had Alzheimer's. And if you haven't watched, I actually have the link to her short film, Me and My Girl. Yeah, she gave me the free link on Vimeo to watch it, and it's so amazing. And what I'll do is I'll just message me and I'll send you that link because it is incredible. Also. Looking at the reality of Alzheimer's. And it's not, I don't know anybody who doesn't know anybody who is impacted by this dis-ease that could not benefit from the understanding. So that's why I'm bringing back Greg O'Brien today. And I hope you enjoy it. And just stay tuned on Thursdays for amazing guests that I've had. Laila Ali, she's come on multiple times. People who are here and who have left the planet in bodily form. Dawn Wells Maryann from Gilligan's Island. Beautiful. I was really blessed to become friends with her and get to go to her place for Thanksgiving. But she has 5 or 6 interviews on my shows. I'm going to bring back her and just humanitarians and teachers and classic TV, half the cast of Happy Days. So there's so much in my vault that I want to bring you on Throwback Thursdays. And it's kind of like, I thought of this the other day. The analogy is, you bought a beautiful gown, usually maybe a wedding gown or, a New Year's Eve dress or something that when you bought it and you put it on, you just felt like $1,000,000. And that's the same feeling when I get to meet my guests for the first time and get to sit and get to know them in my interviews. That's what I'm known for. I'm not here to grill them or make them feel uncomfortable or catch them in something, but I just love and I'm blessed and I'm grateful for the ability to have this platform and meet amazing people. And that first time of putting on an outfit and that first time of interviewing the guest and how good that feels. Well, I want to put that dress on again. And what better way to do that than to create a new series called Throwback Thursdays. And that is my gratitude. I forgot to start with my breakfast. Things that were top of the bun is gratitude. Outwards, what are you grateful for? Bottom of the bun is gratitude. Turn inwards, what do you appreciate? So I just gave you a litany of things that I'm grateful for. And then if I close the breakfast so we can get to the throwback interview, that is, I appreciate my ability to continue to be on this platform. I continue to work. It is a full-time job and I have 8 jobs. But this one's the first one. And I can't think of a better way to start my day than to be here for you and to continue to bring you incredible people who I've learned so much from. And I know you have too. So that's it for breakfast. Thanks for joining me on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. I promise you that if you continue to start your day with gratitude and end it with appreciation, you will have the most positive day blanketed in between. Thanks for joining me for breakfast. And now for the topic of the day. It is understanding Alzheimer's with my guest, Greg O'Brien. By the way, this says everything is awesome. And that is what I'm claiming for today and forever for you and for me. So please enjoy. Here is Greg O'Brien. If I can get this real quick. Here we go. All right, the audio is not working. Let's see if I can't get this. All right, let's go to commercial break and I'll be right back. Don't go away. We'll pause for news, weather, and traffic as well. We'll be back in 2 and 2. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back and we are ready to this is my first Throwback Thursday and my technology is having some challenges, but I think we
now that you found UBN Radio and
all right, let's see if I can find that marker. Percent of the time. And it is the beginning of the 19th annual season for nonviolence. Yesterday was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And in order to celebrate that this month, and this whole season, we have amazing guests. February 2nd, we're going to actually have a powerful panel of guests coming on the show. We have Neil Donald Walsh, best-selling author of Conversations with God, as well as Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, founder of Agape International Spiritual Center, one of the fabulous favorite teachers on The Secret and My Big Brother, and then another past guest, Bishop. We're going to have Carlton Pearson, who will, the three of them, it will be an amazing show. So please do put in your calendars February the 2nd. Also, a peace shout out today to all of the fabulous security, the beautiful women and the men at Sunset. Is absolutely no, not an, oh boy, I just tongue tied myself, is not a, what's the word I'm looking for? Romina, help me. If you just noticed, Romina Mina is my staff interpreter, making this a radio for our deaf series special as well. So thank you for that. And thank you to all the listeners who continue to make this show really, really, really popular. My YouTube views are now over 41,000. Thank you so much. I have over hundreds of thousands of listeners worldwide and over. There are actually 312,000 now.
And all of that, I remember the word. My guest today is no exception. He joins the ranks of many, many guests that I've had who've taken something in life that is not exactly something they had planned for, but instead of taking it and going away into the night, they have taken the condition that they have and made it a point of being a beneficial presence on the planet. Greg O'Brien is an award-winning journalist diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's disease in 2009 at the age of 59. With more than 35 years of experience as a writer, editor, investigative reporter, and publisher, his work has appeared in the Associated Press, Huffington Post, Psychology Today, Reader's Digest, US Today, and Boston Magazine, where he was a senior writer, among other publications. Greg has spoken across the country about his experience living with Alzheimer's disease, has been featured in a documentary film, Living with Alzheimer's, A Place Called Pluto. If you haven't seen it from my Facebook post, please do watch it. It is so powerful and so beautiful, and I dare you not to cry. He's been on NBC News and National Public Radio. He's currently contributing a regular column to the Huffington Post and Psychology Today. Greg is the editor, author of several books, including On Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's. Simply put, this man gives hope to those who are lost and a voice to those who cannot speak. Please welcome to my studio the inspirational and fabulous and honored to be on my show, Greg O'Brien. Welcome, Greg. And we've had a couple of challenges. so worth having you on here. And I'm so honored too. You were just interviewed by Maria Shriver last year, and now you get to come on the show with the Asian Oprah, who usually asks her famous guests one question to start with. I have a friend who has not an answering machine, but a questioning machine. And when you call her, it says, "Who are you and what do you want?" So, Greg O'Brien, who are you and what do you want?
Well, I'm Greg O'Brien. Every day I try to figure out who I am with the new me. Alzheimer's is a slow progression of a disease. And you have to walk, I believe, in faith, hope, and humor. I did a little of that when I first met you before the show, because you said that you were having a deaf translator, and I misheard, and I thought you said DEATH, and that you knew something that I didn't know, and so I'm honored to see that it's this wonderful woman who is translating. So,
Yes.
but you by way of background, my maternal grandfather and my mother died of Alzheimer's. My paternal uncle died several months ago. Before my father died, he was diagnosed with dementia. Several years ago, I began the horrific symptoms of short-term memory loss, not knowing where I was and who I was, and then I had a serious head injury, which doctor said unmasked the disease in the making. And I had the brain scan, the SPECT scan, and the clinical test that confirmed the diagnosis. And I also carry the Alzheimer's marker gene APOE4, and people can look that up and research it and learn about it.
That was in 2009. So try to take me back to that time to help people. The beautiful thing that you're doing is really helping people understand this disease, because it's, I think, 44 million in the world who have it, and it's one thing to hear about it, and I don't know anybody who doesn't know someone who's been touched by it. It's like Parkinson's. My mom has Parkinson's, and it's one thing to sort of hear about it, but to actually understand from someone who has gone through that. Take me back to 2009. What kinds of things were happening that made you realize there was something off?
Well, I had a front row seat with my mother and my maternal grandfather, so I got to see firsthand the symptoms and recognize them. They were horrifying for me. And there was a time where I was in denial, and there's a chapter in my book which is a quote: "Denial ain't just a river in Egypt," Mark Twain. And we all live in that wonderful world, but when it got to the point where it was affecting my day-to-day life, I had to reach out, and that's when I got the clinical test and the brain scans, and it's a slow progression, and maybe, which is helpful for your viewers. Everyone thinks of Alzheimer's as the end stage, okay, where you're in a hospital, nursing home, and you're almost comatose, and that's a journey in Alzheimer's, and you could go online. I'm actively involved with the Alzheimer's Association, working on a national advisory board on early onset Alzheimer's with the Cure Alzheimer's Fund in Boston, Us Against Alzheimer's in Washington, D.C., and all of the experts, the doctors, will tell you that this is a disease that can take 20-25 years to run its course. It's like watching paint dry, and there are no two examples. Generally, it's like snowflakes of Alzheimer's that are the same, which makes it difficult. Sure, the disease can take you out quicker, as cancer can, and I also have cancer, and I'm not fighting it. I have prostate cancer, but it's my exit strategy, and it's just every day when you wake up, you're not quite sure who's going to show up. And so you have to, this to me, and I'm honored by the focus of your show, is a faith journey for me. I'm probably one of the most imperfect human beings you'll ever meet, but there's that old saying, let go and let God.
Mm.
And I had the WTF, and you guys can
Yes.
figure out what
Yes.
that means.
Yes.
Talk with God the other day.
Yeah, you
I'm
did.
curious on how she does that with the hand signal. All right, and
Let's do
it was
that
sent
slow.
to the
Do
Lord.
WTF. Oh, she
Geez.
actually spells the letters WTF.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, I want to get the
There's a
audience smiling, so
you definitely have us smiling.
they're
And let me just take a station identification in
go
case
ahead.
those people are wondering who this really funny and poignant person that I get to speak to on today's show is Greg O'Brien, who's an award-winning journalist who has developed early onset Alzheimer's, and you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at noon on Universal Broadcasting Network from the Sunset Gower Studios, and then syndicated on my CNBC News Radio channel KCAA AM 1050 and FM 106.5 on Thursdays at 7 and Saturdays. So you can hear the entire show if you've just tuned in. But Greg O'Brien is talking about and this is the juicy part that I really want to know, because for you to have this disease, and then you just said that you have prostate cancer, which is your exit strategy, how can you have faith? How can you believe that it's that it's good? Like, how can you, like in your little documentary that made me cry, you're going out on the water, you love the water, and sometimes you think, maybe I'll just go out and not come back. And how do you not say WTF? How do you stay positive? How do you stay in that hope?
Well, I believe God has a sense of humor, and God is the essence of love. So I had the WTF talk with the Lord the other day, and started out in my usual Irish arrogance. Lord, do you know who I am? And 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 I believe God has a sense of humor and will reach you at any level. And also I believe God knows no gender. So God is God.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the Lord say, "Yeah, dumbass, I made you. I know who you are, and I have you right where I want you." And stuff like that keeps me going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am with him in that. I wouldn't call you a dumb
Well,
A.
I think
I
it's
think
grounded.
you're more of a smart A than a dumb A to me. Anyways, from the little that I've gotten to know you, but I do believe that when you do transition, you're going to see my dad, who left because of lymphoma in 2000, and I believe that you are the quintessential example of why you're here on the planet, because you are taking what has happened to you and bringing so much hope and so much inspiration and so much education and so much benefit to those of us who don't know. And that's why you're here. This is not the end game. I really believe this is not the end game. And
Well, you
go ahead.
no, you try to get up every day and do it better. And I find in Alzheimer's and looking at cancer, I also have spinal stenosis, scoliosis, and degeneration of my spine. And I still go to the gym every day because I have this saying. And again, I'm going to curious how the woman handles it with the interpretation, but I'll just give you the paraphrase. These demons don't know who they're screwing with. And
Mm.
and it's just pressing on, because I believe there's something bigger out there and
Yeah.
bigger for me. And shame on me if I it, it it's and feel free to interrupt. I sometimes, doctor, have to keep talking because I have a thought in my head and then it's gone.
Ugh.
I mean, a
Well,
good example.
I don't have Alzheimer's, and that just happened to me at the beginning of the show. So you have a good reason for it. I don't. So please take your time. Do whatever that. I'm just so grateful to have you here talking to me. So
My book on Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's, and maybe the best place to get it is Amazon. Although it's available in bookstores around the country and Barnes and Noble and others. But it's a book about living with this disease, not dying with it. The great Bugs Bunny once said, "Don't take life too seriously because nobody gets out alive." And when I got my diagnosis, what I did was immediately take close to 2,000 pages of notes of everything I didn't want to forget.
wow.
And also chronicling my mother's disease. I was the family caregiver on Cape Cod. So she was at one end and I was at the other end. And
Did
we were
she
on
know?
parallel tracks. Yeah. Well, we took our Aricept together at times, which is
wow.
some of the medication that I'm on the legal limits for the strength of medications that hopefully slow a progression, but there is no cure. But today, Doctor, 60% of my short-term memory at times, not all the time, can be gone in 30 seconds.
Wow.
I
Well-
don't recognize people, including my wife on several occasions that I've known all my life. Very regularly, people now are coming up and reintroducing themselves to me because I don't know who they are. A small example, I was on Nantucket, the island off Cape Cod, Friday, and I do some work consulting for Nantucket Cottage Hospital, which is a wonderful hospital. Well, one of the hospital administrators that I know very well saw me on the boat and came up and talked. I didn't know who he was. And this happens to me all the time. But I knew I should know that it was important. And so I stayed and talked with him for 15 minutes and kept asking him questions until he'd said something about the hospital. And then it was like a curtain over my eyes. My eyes opened up and I realized that was it. That's who he was. And that's what happens in Alzheimer's. I know out west there are probably not a lot of basements, but people have basements back here. And I say that, ask people, it's akin to being in the basement doing your laundry at night when someone upstairs in the kitchen doesn't know you're there and turns the light off. When that happens, I drop F-bombs. People yell and scream, and that's part of the rage. I go into tremendous rage now, and
that's tough.
And there times also I see things that aren't there. They're hallucinations, and you shout and you scream just to try to turn that light back on. And the process is it flickers and almost like a plug in a socket that's loose. But at some point the light goes dead, and it goes dead forever, and it's dark, and that day comes. And so you walk in faith, hope, and humor. Remember what Bugs Bunny said.
Yeah. Your analogies are particularly helpful. I know to me and to my listeners and anyone who is trying to understand or living with someone who is going through the disease. And I'm going to have a follow-up show. I don't know if Kara told you, with your permission, I'd like to have your family on, because
Sure.
it's difficult for you. I can't even imagine what it's like for your family. How do they stay hopeful? How do they, I mean, one, obviously when you go into these rages, it must be painful. It must be, you can't take it personally. I mean, when you forget people, I can't take it personally if you don't know who I am. I mean, how is it best for people to support you in what you're going through and what the family's going through?
Well, I appreciate that question. The bigger answer I would like to give is, how you support people in Alzheimer's. I'm just one of several million, and I had the God-given blessing of being a communicator early on, and
No mistake, no accident, no mistake.
and so I'm not stupid. I just have a disease. So what I'm trying to do while I can is focus on the communication of it, which doctors say I'm working off what they call a cognitive reserve, which is a backup of inherited intellect.
Wow.
And it's like a fuel tank. But my mother was like, I'm on the same path as my mom, but the lights keep going out, Marissa. And a couple of weeks ago, I don't sleep well at night. I got up, went to the bathroom, used my iPhone as the flashlight, as we all do.
Uh-huh.
And in the bathroom, in the moment, I didn't know where I was and who I was. And so I called the house to wake my wife up to ask where I was. And she was 20 feet away in the bed.
Wow.
And that's what it is it's a complicated disease. And I cut up a frog in high school, so that's all I know about medicine. But there, I would urge people to try to put stereotypes of this disease behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that to some extent it may be the progression like watching paint dry, but the paint surely dries and the grass surely grows, even though sometimes you can't see it. And there are millions of people out there like me. I was saying this to someone the other day. I could fill people that I know, a whole room of people who are at my stage living with it, who can communicate, but there are other things that they can't do because the lights keep going out. And we need to take this disease seriously in the early stages. And I'm hoping that's one of the byproduct of this, on Pluto and other efforts that are out there.
Absolutely. If you have not read this book, it is a must read, On Pluto, Inside the Mind of Alzheimer's. And I've been blessed to give a copy away as an Asian Oprah giveaway at the end of the show. I'm not up to cars yet, but we do get to give out really good books. So stay tuned to the end of the show.
Okay.
Okay, I will definitely. I know I was hoping to win that lotto last week.
I'll probably have to have I'll have to have my son drive it, but you can call me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay. So, big bomb question. Are you afraid of the end? Are you afraid of, because I went to your NPR channel, which is another fabulous resource. Please go just search in Greg O'Brien NPR. He's got a fabulous series there on different topics. And I noticed last week that you put on there preparing for death, as Bugs Bunny says. So what are your thoughts around that?
Well, I think death is the natural progression.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the end. It's really the beginning of what was meant to be from the start. And so I don't fear it. I really don't. And I again, I have a strong faith, and was my trying to find the right words. I don't want to proselytize here because people find their own faith. It's not up to me to define someone's faith, but I am just fully convinced that there's an all-loving God. And I know people define God in different ways and different genders and all that. And that's not my place to get in the middle of that either.
Right.
My place, I feel, is to say from my heart, I am fully convinced that God exists, and God is love. And so what happens in Alzheimer's, which I write about, talk about the journey from the mind to the heart. And I think it's a natural progression for people who are listening. And my guess is a number of deaf people who are listening know exactly what I'm talking about, because they've had to go beyond the normal routine in ways to communicate. And and so is memory all that it's cracked up to be? You know, how big was that fish someone caught? How long was that home run? We remember what was that prom dress, that all that pretty. We remember what we want to, but I believe there's a natural journey, that the heart is the place of the soul.
Beautiful.
We're
Beautiful.
either a speck of sand. We're either a speck of sand, or we are a soul. And guess what? We're all going to find that out. And I'm on the soul search, and because that's the essence of who we are. And so what I've tried, and I've talked to a lot of other people about it, and it's a journey others have been on, where I've learned to speak and write from my heart. And that's what keeps me going. I don't, my mind used to be my best friend, but not so much anymore. And so I learned to write and speak from the heart.
You definitely are a beautiful soul. And even though you're a smarty at times, you definitely are someone who inspires me. I can't imagine waking up and finding out that something that you were an award-winning journalist. Your mind, like you said, was your best friend. You write in a way that captures, but it is that gift that is now applied to something to help us understand what's going on inside of your mind. That is precious. And for those of you who are a little bit peeved at me right now that the sound every once in a while goes out on the Skype, this was purposeful. I had a choice of either having him on the phone or having him on Skype. So please forgive the little momentary. I'm listening carefully, making sure that we're getting 98% of the gist of what he's saying, because it is important. But it was a choice to put you on camera because I think this is a fabulous opportunity for people who are suffering or finding out they have the disease, or someone close to them has the disease, that it is not hopeless, that there are that even though, and that was my first reaction about the disease, because they say when your house is on fire, what's the first thing that you do? Is most people would say, well, they grab their photo albums. That's before the days of memory sticks. And because they want to keep the memories, that's the most precious thing in their life. And how do you deal with a disease that takes away that critical part of what is life? And you answered that question just now, before I could ask it, because life is still meaningful. Life is in the moment of the heart, in that day-to-day, one moment at a time breath of what is life. Like this right now, my chance to talk to you across the country, finding out how you're feeling about your life and about the way you are dealing with disease, that is the most important heart moment of my life. And I'm grateful for that.
Well, thank you. But it is that journey that I believe it's the journey from the cradle to the grave, and finding that place of the heart. And I believe that's who we really are. So Alzheimer's can't rob my soul. It can destroy my brain and my memory, but it can't rob my soul, the essence of who I am. And I had that discussion with my mother. She was very upset, and she was crying toward the end. And I sat her down, and I pointed to her heart, and I said, remember that little girl, Virginia Brown? That was her maiden name, who grew up in Manhattan on the Upper East Side and went to a convent school and then college and had 10 children.
10 children.
And raised 10 loving children. That little girl is still there. My mother had 10 children. That little girl is still there. She's right in your heart. She hasn't left you. And my mom looked at me, and sometimes she had trouble with words, but she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And then she started crying and gave me a big hug. I said, "Mom, this disease has not robbed you of that little girl." And so it was interesting. My mother and I had an up and down relationship. I think I probably reminded her of my father, so she took some things out on me rather than my dad. But Alzheimer's brought us together, and my mother became the hero of my life. And another thing suggests that people who are listening, 2/3 or close to that of individuals who have Alzheimer's are women.
Mhm.
And this
I
is
didn't know
now,
that.
of course, women do live longer, but they're doing studies now that indicate certain things inside the brain that could be happening to cause that. And I cut up a frog in high school, so I'm not qualified. But there's a woman who's a good friend of mine. She was the producer of the film Still Alice,
Oh,
Elizabeth Gelfand Stearns, and she has started something called the Judy Fund with the Alzheimer's Association. So I would encourage anyone to who's listening to call up the Judy Fund, Elizabeth Gelfand Stearns, and learn about how this disease is affecting women.
that's
Lisa
great.
Genova, I think, who you know, who wrote the forward to my book, she wrote the book Still Alice,
Wow. That's so
and
weird because I was going to ask you about that movie, if you'd seen it, what you thought about it. And then, of course, you raised it without me asking you. So you're a mind reader um, of at least my mind. I don't know what that says. But so it is a pretty real depiction of what someone from Alzheimer's goes through.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
she did an extraordinary job on it.
yes, she did.
Another thing that I would urge people to listen to, two good friends of mine, where they become good friends, producers, directors, Trevor Albert and James Quiche. Trevor did Groundhog Day, Multiplicity. James Quiche did Walk the Line. They produced the Glenn Campbell film I'll Be Me,
Mm,
and after the film was produced, it seminars and speaking engagements, I got to know them. We become good friends. I've got to know Glenn Campbell's wife Kim and her beautiful family. And I would urge
great.
anyone. It plays, that film plays on CNN, but I'm sure you could go online and get it to
With the name of it again?
Glenn Campbell. I'll Be Me,
I'll be
and
okay.
and in it, Glenn is probably 12 years older than me, and obviously more advanced. But he was a he was a country hero of
He was
mine
a I'm
growing up,
sorry, we
and
lost that
so
that
it's
what was
ironic
he?
that we. Correct.
We lost that, not because of Alzheimer's, but because of our Skype connection to Massachusetts. Say that Glenn Campbell was a
He was a hero of mine, and I loved his music and listened to it all the time when I would drive cross country. So it's ironic that I have this connection, but in it, he again, he's in a tougher place now. But
yeah.
you would see when he got up on stage, just like it is with me with writing, you go to that place of the soul, the muscle memory, and anyone who sees the film will say, "How did he do that?"
How does he do that?
I believe he did that through his soul. He got up, grabbed his guitar, and just said, "I'm not going to let this disease take me down." And he
Mm,
sung his heart out. And so much respect for the Campbell family.
yeah, that's great. Beautiful. So watch the movie, The So your homework, listeners, you have like homework,
Yeah,
but this is pleasant homework. Well, not pleasant, but important homework. Reading the book on Pluto, and watching the documentary if you haven't seen it, and going to Still Alice, Judy, what's her name?
oh,
Sorry, I
Judy
forgot.
Gelfand Stearns.
Okay.
She's the producer of the
Still
film
Alice,
Still Alice, but she's also head of the Judy Fund,
the Judy Fund.
and
That's what I heard.
Judy
J
with
U
the
D Y.
Alzheimer's Association, and you could learn an awful lot about how this disease affects women.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. And I've run over, but it is time to thank our sponsors. We'll be right back. If you'd like to partner with me to help bring these kinds of shows to the world for business, the life of their calm, that's Selfie Station Podcast. Get a balanced tip that keeps radio channel AM 1050 KCAA, and also now FM 106.5 and 106.3. So you can get me 4 times a week for this show about hope and happiness. And I'm very blessed to have today on the air with me award-winning journalist Greg O'Brien, who is illuminating and inspiring us with information from the inside the mind of an Alzheimer's. And Greg, I would like to take a little time to capture some memories that you have about people that are important in your life. And so I'm going to start with your wife, and I want you to give me the best memory, the favorite memory that you have of your wife, Mary. I think it's Mary Catherine.
I would say that was probably on Martha's Vineyard 30 some odd years ago when she said yes when I asked her to marry me.
Did you know she was going to say yes?
I was hoping, I didn't have a fallback, so.
Beautiful. And your children, you have 3 of them, Brendan, Colleen, and Connor. So let's start with Brendan. What's your favorite memory of Brendan? Did I lose you?
Brendan, Brendan is a writer producer in Boston, and I think some of my favorite memories when he was a young boy taking him to his first Boston Red Sox game at Fenway Park, and then my daughter Colleen, who teaches inner city kids in Baltimore. My favorite memory with Colleen, I think, is the day that I brought home a yellow golden retriever. And gave her the dog, and that's become part of the family. And it's a little sad now because I was telling you early on that our dog Sox, named after the Boston Red Sox, is pretty much on the 17th hole of her life. So, and then Connor, I think my favorite memories with Connor is he's kind of my day-to-day caregiver and the times that we get to spend every day. And he has done interviews with me. He's also was featured. Runner's World asked me to write a major piece in the January-February edition about how it's about the strategies of Alzheimer's, how exercise keeps the demons at bay. And there's a wonderful photo of Connor in that. It's on the newsstand. It's a 6-page spread. It's the January-February issue of Runner's World. It's also online. You could Google Runner's World online, Greg O'Brien and Alzheimer's, and find it.
That's beautiful. And I know I actually share one thing in common with you. You love the water. And I know that you go out there. I actually race sailboats for the last 20 some odd years. I started when I was 2. And so we share that part. And my name means of the water. So maybe if I'm on that coast, or if you're ever in California, I'll take you out on a Catalina 37. How does that sound?
That'll be great. I come to California to speak every once in a while.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'll be out west in February and March. So
okay. Well, I definitely will bring you here to the studio then. Absolutely. And we'll fix all those Skype bugs.
Okay.
But we are almost out of time. And I just wanted to say, I wanted to present you with the Dr. Marissa Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award for the work that you do and for the life that you lead and for the words that come from your heart and all that you have done to inspire me and my listeners. I am so grateful. So thank you. You are truly a success, in the words or the definition that I use most often, which is Emerson's words of to know that you've made one life breathe easier because you have lived. That is success. Thank you for being our success.
I'm imperfect, but I keep trying. So how's that?
You're trying. You're not trying at all. You are succeeding. Thank you so much, Greg O'Brien, for your appearance on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. All right, and we are at the end of the show, The Balance. Lost me there for a second. Wow, I hope you enjoyed my first Throwback Thursday series highlight spotlight. I had forgotten how incredibly, well,
first and foremost, how fortunate I am to get to spend some time with like incredible people who give us a window and a book to read out loud, to understand a disease like Alzheimer's in a way that I don't know. There's something about having someone tell me about something that I don't experience that truly just blows me away. I'm a little speechless now. And I'm so glad that I'm doing this because there's so much that my guests help us all understand that, like that dress, that analogy. I think that's my best analogy for the week is this throwback series you're putting back on a beautiful gown that you wore one time when I interviewed them one time, and it was amazing. And then it gets put away and then you almost forget. So by using the series to remember and to listen, and I think I had to get over I'm a recovering perfectionist. And so sometimes listening to myself or watching myself, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have, I should have let him, or, so it's not a series that I necessarily wanted to do, but for the greater good of just bringing back some brilliant, amazing people and their ability to help us understand things in life that does absolutely develop in us. I know for me, more compassion, more understanding, and more, such respect for writers. He's a Pulitzer Prize award winning journalist. And what he said about God, what he said about, the uncontrollable anger that comes with Alzheimer's. And I can't even imagine how difficult that is, both for himself and for those who love him. And I'm going to have to follow up. And we were in contact for a little bit. The interview was a while back, and I'll have to go circle back around and see how he's doing. And there are those things that he mentioned to watch to help follow up or understand. One was, let's see if I can find it, the Glenn Campbell movie, A Gentle on My Mind. Let's see. So Alzheimer's, the movie. Yeah. It's called, it's not coming up now, but that one, and the one also, the Alice movie that I watched a bunch of times ago. And it was also really good. So there's a lot of places to go to have a better understanding, and also to be able to help. I know that the disease is affecting, it's not getting better as far as treatment. They have treatment, but if you have time and funds this end of year, there are a lot of Alzheimer organizations. I like to balance out the problem with solutions. And I know there's a lot of ways that you can help this whole area, whether you have someone affected by it or not. So I would encourage you to go and to follow up and help with that. If that's, if you're bored and you don't have enough to do, or you are, sitting and doing this all day, MS, meaningless scrolling. That means you have time to go volunteer or to engage in helpful conversations around Alzheimer's. And next week for Throwback Thursdays, I'm going to do the power panel that was mentioned earlier. That episode, my interviews with the power panel of Neil Donald Walsh and my big brother, Dr. Michael Beckwith, and then Bishop Carlton, who's now on the other side, won the Cover Award. And so we'll play that for Throwback Thursdays, this new series that I have, so you can enjoy the wisdom and the incredible insight of my past guests. All right. That's it for Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA AM 1050 FM 106.5, streaming everywhere, home to the Asian Oprah, NBC News Radio, #1 talk in the IE. Thank you very much. And the station that leaves no listener behind. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Greg O'Brien. And as usual, you can go free subscribe on my YouTube channel and get all of my past 1,286 podcast shows. But for now, remember, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow with Straight Talk with James Hawthorne, and the topic is pleasure. So we'll see you then.